你在浮华喧嚣中埋头坚守，你在重重压力下破冰出发。纵然世界瞬息万变，初心始终如一。因坚守而同行，
第一财经记者美国纽约报道。
因信任而相伴，因真实而成就。如果你也和我们一样，相信未来可期，请点亮这个一。
时代的巨浪浩浩荡荡，日益开放的世界市场激发了更多机遇。中国银行把握时代脉搏，构建人民币国际化的锦绣新格局。中国银行机构覆盖5大洲60多个国家和地区，拥有1万余家境内网点和560多家境外网点，凭借领先的清算网络，打造一点接入、服务全球的服务体验。中国银行积极投身人民币国际化进程，保持跨境人民币结算量第一、清算量第一，海外人民币清算行数量第一，专业值得信赖。中国银行在跨境人民币业务领域，用5全服务打造5新体验，为跨境贸易提供全流程服务，通过灵活便捷的跨境人民币汇款和信用证结算、贸易融资支持及远期结售汇和利率汇率掉期产品，中国银行奉献100年专业积淀，助您跨境贸易往来更舒心。为来华企业提供全功能服务，协助办理各类直接投资登记，专户管理资本金汇入和使用，提供跨境贷款，协助发行熊猫债。中国银行将全球服务与本土智慧相结合，助您来华创业更安心。为企业走出去提供全周期服务，在企业初创期办理境外账户开立和资本金汇出，在企业成长期协助管理汇率风险，在关键时刻给予跨境担保和融资支持。中国银行陪伴您开拓全球市场，助您走出去经营更省心。为对华金融投资提供全渠道服务，通过债券通、沪深港通、跨境理财通、QFI、CIBM 等各类渠道，中国银行助您分享中国资本市场成长红利，使您对华金融投资更顺心。为跨境资金管理提供全方位服务，从跨境人民币集中收付、跨境双向人民币资金池到本外币一体化资金池，中国银行为您打通境内外人民币资金运用各环节，让您的跨境资金管理更放心。每一次探索都开辟新未来，每一次连接都牵动新机遇。中国银行跨境人民币服务，助力您的全球业务再续锦绣篇章，牵丝成锦，秀美全球。中国银行跨境人民币服务，与您共襄锦绣。
2021年5月25日，上海市人民政府办公厅发布了关于加快推进上海全球资产管理中心建设的若干意见。上海开启了建设全球资产管理中心的新阶段。2021年8月24日，上海国际金融中心建设“十四五”规划提出了2中心、2枢纽、 两高地的发展目标，明确了建设全球资产管理中心的工作内容。上海资产管理协会作为专业性自律组织，以服务实体经济发展和服务财富管理需求两个目标为追求，发挥跨行业合作交流和跨行业监管沟通两大功能，担负起产业资本对接、国际资管合作和金融科技服务的3项任务。在上海市委市政府的支持和相关监管部门的指导下，协会将进一步凝心聚力，与相关组织一起积极协作，向着加快建设全球资产管理中心及上海国际金融中心的目标大步迈进。上海资产管理协会。
Every expectation。
上海国际金融中心首次晋升全球金融中心前3，纽伦沪3强格局出现端倪。
上海已经成为国际上金融市场体系最为完备、最为集中的城市之一。
Every exploration。
承载着资本市场改革先行先试、科技强国目标的科创板在上海落地。
平稳运行1年后，科创板指数终于来了。
Every step forward。
推出30条具体措施，加快上海国际金融中心建设和金融支持长三角一体化。
长三角生态绿色一体化发展示范区推出了金融16条。
交通银行长三角一体化管理总部在上海成立。
Every breakthrough。
上海自贸区临港新片区今天发布金融开放与创新发展的若干措施。
在经过半年的等待之后，沪港通终于尘埃落定。
备受各界关注的沪伦通正式启动。
Every choice。
首个国际化期货品种原油期货在
上海金的落地意味着
国际铜正式在上期所挂牌上市，提升中国在全球大宗商品市场的定价力。
Every task。
让金融资源更好配置于人民生产生活的衣食住行、安居乐业。
Every effort。
稳定和增加人民群众的财产性收入，守护好百姓的钱袋子。
This is finance. As important as the blood vessels. This is finance. A visible, pulsating power. Shanghai, the financial city。
在低碳转型时代，中国银行绿色金融从微小到宏大，从中国到全球，运用金融力量助力经济绿色高质量发展，切实履行服务生态文明建设的大行责任担当，坚持董事会、管理层、专业团队3层管理架构。中国银行坚定支持可持续发展，走出了绿色金融最强音。目前，中国银行已建立中银绿色家全球品牌，推出5大类数10项绿色金融产品与服务，覆盖绿色贷款、绿色普惠、绿色冒金、绿色债券、绿色存款、绿色消费、绿色综合化服务等多个方面，多项创新，各地律动。境内推动绿色信贷快速增长，境外支持一批全球重点标杆项目，大力发展绿色债券，推动绿色信贷与普惠金融有机融合，相互促进，创新个人绿色金融产品，在绿色保险、投资、租赁、指数、资管等方面为客户提供全方位服务，构建3道防线， 明确客户 ESG 风险管理职责，开展客户 ESG 风险评估，加强授信和投资的全流程管理，采取环保一票否决制，有序推进气候风险敏感性压力测试，在国有大行中率先完成运营碳盘查工作，发布了中国银行员工绿色行动倡议和中国银行绿色行动指南，培育绿色发展能力，打造人才队伍，主动参与全球绿色治理，为积极应对气候变化贡献中航智慧和中航方案。未来，中国银行将继续履行国有大行责任担当，构建绿色金融服务首选银行，奋力谱写生态文明建设的新篇章。
3、2、1。
On a relative basis, I like China better now than, let's say, Europe or even NASDAQ for that matter, because NASDAQ, a small number of stocks went up pretty high recently.
How would you position China globally?
So our equities broadly is underweight, but within equities we are overweight China and, let's say, underweight Europe.
The headwinds that we are facing now is a hiccup.
I think it's a hiccup. I think they're sort of stepping in when needed and then taking a foot off of the pedal a little bit. So I think it's managed pretty well.
What kind of thing that we can do to unlock the consumption power?
There is room, for example, for fiscal policy to pivot more to supporting household consumption.
You mean the authorities should step in?
And we actually see room for some easing of monetary policy, preferably using interest rates.
Looking forward, is Chinese recovery is something far from certain or is something highly probable?
By our math, that means China accounts for 1/3 of global growth this year. So let's hope it happens.
We both know that the technology sector is leading the return of global equity markets so far this year.
It's a disruptive technology. They're willing to pay big premiums to buy those stocks in the anticipation that in the future they will get big returns.
Some stocks are very expensive by traditional criteria.
Not all of them will be successful. So you have to be very careful about where you invest.
How are you thinking about AI as far as separate the hype from where the true futures are?
Right now, the surest bet is to invest in the people that are making the hardware and developing the software.
Do you think the US is on the path to a kind of soft landing?
That is our view, yes. It's unusual given the amount of increases in interest rates that we've seen.
The science will matter more than the macro, than the finance.
I think science does drive big changes in the economy. We're going through something like that now.
What is your general comment about the recovery?
For this year, we have still a target of 6% GDP growth.
Many people are very disappointed about the pace of our recovery.
Not to see overheating can be a good thing because I think it's under control and sustainable.
This time, is refraining to inject kind of big stimulus is the right thing to do?
Yes, absolutely, because it's much better to build a gradual, sustainable, good quality growth.
The consumers, investors, business, they all need confidence now.
Absolutely, I think it is underway. We just need some time.
Where does your confidence on China come from?
We are in the middle of a very significant shift of growth, of wealth, of innovation from the west to the east.
Welcome to China. Wish you health and joy.
嘿，来啦！
来回真水啊！对，我的，而且水查某啊，赚钱真艰苦，好好创，爱拼才会赢。
中銀香港推出數字人民幣服務。
The tide of history moves on like a mighty river, and the increasingly open global market has inspired greater opportunities. Bank of China grasps the pulse of the times and builds a splendid new pattern of RMB internationalization. Bank of China offers services covering more than 60 countries and regions on 5 continents, with over 10,000 domestic outlets and over 560 overseas outlets. With its leading edge in clearing network, it offers customers the experience of one access to global services. Bank of China is actively engaged in RMB internationalization, maintaining leading positions in cross-border RMB settlement and clearing, and enjoying the most extensive RMB clearing bank network, thus providing a professional and trustworthy brand. Bank of China works to create a perfect experience of convenience, reassurance, efficiency, smoothness and security with comprehensive cross-border RMB services. Bank of China provides whole process services for cross-border trade through flexible and convenient cross-border RMB settlement, financing and hedging. Bank of China is dedicated to facilitating more convenient cross-border trade with expertise built up through a century-long history. Bank of China provides full-featured services for foreign companies coming into China, assisting in various registrations of direct investment, providing capital fund and special accounts management, offering cross-border loans and panda bond underwriting. Bank of China looks to incorporate local experience into global services so as to provide reassuring services for your business development in China. Bank of China provides full-cycle services for enterprises.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the 2023 Shanghai International Asset Management Forum, Connectivity and High-Level Opening Up International Session, Talk with Singapore. It's my great pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the 2023 Shanghai Global Asset Management Forum, the dialogue on China's high-level opening up and the interconnectivity between Singapore and China. It's my pleasure to be the host of today's forum. My name is Yicai. I'm television news anchor from Yicai. It's really a delight to meet you here.
Today marks the 30th anniversary of Shanghai's center as the asset management center, and also the 3rd anniversary for this forum. The first two was held in 2021 and 2022. This marks the 3rd co-sponsorship by these two organizations. In this morning's session, we have heard from investment supervision and also market infrastructure. We have heard from the leaders and experts from multiple areas and their comments on Shanghai building a high-level asset management center. This afternoon, we are going to talk about the internationalization as well as dialogues with the Singaporean organizations and industry associations. We're going to have some high-level talks.
Construction of Shanghai Global Asset Management Center. It's also the third year for Yicai and Bank of China to jointly organize the Shanghai Global Asset Management Forum for consecutive years from 2021 to 2022. During the event in the morning, we have heard the insights from the investor, regulators, and the experts from the international financial market infrastructures to share with us about their perspectives about in participating in the construction of Shanghai Global Asset Management. In the afternoon, we will hear more about the international development of Shanghai Global Asset Management construction and launch an in-depth dialogue on the China and Singapore's international cooperation in the high-quality international global asset management industry with the representatives from the asset management institutions from Singapore. 接下来呢，请允许我为大家来介绍。
Next, please allow me to introduce the leaders to this event. They are.
Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the attendants for today's forum. 他们是上海市地方金融监督管理局副局长葛平先生，欢迎您。Mr. Ge Ping, Deputy Director of Shanghai Municipal Financial Regulatory Bureau and Shanghai Municipal Financial Services Bureau. 新加坡金融管理局驻中国首席代表黄家军女士，欢迎您。Ms. Ning Jiajun, Chief Representative of Monetary Authority of Singapore China Office. 中国银行业务管理总监赵荣女士 ，Ms. 赵荣 ，Chief Business and Manager Officer of Bank of China. 新加坡投资管理协会总裁黄爱群女士 ，Ms. Carmen Wee, President of the Investment Management Association of Singapore. 上海资产管理协会会长汇天富基金管理股份有限公司董事长李文先生 ，Mr. Li Wen, President of Asset Management Association of Shanghai and Chairman of China Universal Asset Management. 国泰君安证券股份有限公司副总裁罗东元先生 ，Mr. 罗东元 ，Vice President of 国泰君安 Securities. 以及参加圆桌讨论的中国和新加坡的机构代表朋友们，感谢各位的出席。And the guests from the panel discussion represents different fields of the asset management industry from China and Singapore. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you. 好，接下来呢，让我们首先掌声有请。
Next, we'll start warm applause. Let's welcome Mr. Ge Ping.
Now let's welcome Mr. Ge Ping, Deputy Director of Shanghai Municipal Financial Regulatory Bureau.
尊敬的黄主
Dear Mr. Huang Jiajun, Director Zhao Rong, Li Wen, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm honored to be invited by the Bank of China and Yicai to participate in the 2023 Shanghai Global Asset Management Forum Dialogue with Singapore. First of all, please allow me, on behalf of the Shanghai Local Financial Supervision Bureau, to express my warm congratulations to the forum. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the monetary authorities of Singapore and the friends in the asset management industry at home and abroad for their support for the construction of the Shanghai International Financial Center and Global Asset Management Center. After the COVID, the global economy ushered in recovery. China persists in opening to the outside world at a high level, enhances confidence in international capital investment, and seeks common development with the world. Shanghai adheres to the international benchmark and in accordance with the goal of the 2 centers, 2 hubs, and 2 highlands proposed in the 14th five-year plan, steadily and orderly promotes the two-way opening up of the financial industry and constantly improves the construction level of Shanghai's international financial center. First, Shanghai's financial market is striving for innovation while maintaining stability. Shanghai has gathered 15 financial markets and infrastructures, including foreign exchange, stocks, bonds, gold, bills, and insurance, and has become one of the cities with the most complete financial market system in the world. And has become one of the cities with the most complete financial market system in the world. From January to August this year, the turnover of the financial market was 2,270 trillion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 16.9%. The increased ability of the resource allocation in the financial market provides a diversified trading service and risk hedging tools for the asset management industry. And second, Shanghai's two-way financial opening up have been accelerated. Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect, Bond Connect, Shanghai London Connect, and Exchange Connect, as well as interaction services from Shanghai to Hong Kong and to London, as well as Tokyo, have been improved, as well as interconnection services from all these ETF centers. And we have seen 89 international renowned asset management institutions participated in Shanghai's QFLP and 62 in QDLP. And third, asset management institutions have accelerated their gathering in Shanghai. There have been 4,600 asset management institutions in Shanghai. At present, only 6 newly established wholly foreign-owned public offerings and found financial subsidiaries and joint ventures banks have established in Shanghai. And about 80% of the foreign private equity investment funds managers registered by China Foundation have settled in Shanghai. Shanghai has become the first choice for domestic and the foreign capital management institutions. In the next step, with the support and the cooperation of the national financial management departments, financial markets, and asset management institutions, we will accelerate the construction of global asset management center from 4 aspects. First, improve the diversified institutional system and enrich the main values of the asset management industry. We are going to strengthen the joint efforts of urban areas where welcome the bank's wealth management, insurance, securities, funds, trusts, futures, and other institutions as their professional subsidiaries to settle down here in Shanghai, and support qualified foreign investors to set up various asset management institutions in Shanghai. The second is to innovate asset management products and services to meet the diversified needs of domestic and foreign investors. We are going to give play to the innovation enthusiasm of the asset management institutions, enrich the types of the fixed income products, increase the insurance of equity products, increase the investment in green areas, and deepen the digital application of asset management industry. The third is to build a financial market system with more international influence and enhance the global resource allocation capability. We will further cooperate closely with financial markets in Shanghai and promote the interconnections of bond markets, support the development of RMB interest rate and foreign exchange derivatives market, enrich the stocks, bond, funds, and other products in the securities market, and introduce more derivatives such as the important commodity futures options with international influence. And the fourth is to continuously improve government services and optimize the business environment for asset management.
We shall strengthen contacts with asset management institutions, listen to their opinions and suggestions, continuously enhance the effectiveness of government services. We shall give full play to the role of Shanghai Asset Management Association, build the brand of Shanghai Global Asset Management Center, issue a new round of QFLP and QDLP pilot services, and hold the bottom line of regional systematic financial risks. Singapore is the well-known international financial center and asset management center. Singapore is close to China in culture and language. Singapore is one of the most active overseas investors in China, with rich experience in investment management, traditional finance, financial technology, and professional services. China's economy is resilient, promising vitality with good fundamentals. With the establishment of standardized development trend of China's asset management, the domestic market has further adapted to Singapore's investment demands. Shanghai will continue to learn from Singapore's successful development experience, strengthen communication with Singapore, promote cooperation between asset management industries of both China and Singapore to achieve win-win. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, today we have so many distinguished guests. I hope you can all offer suggestions for the construction of Shanghai Global Asset Management Center and deepening cooperation between Shanghai and Singapore. We would also like to warmly welcome asset management talents from Singapore and around the world. Welcome to come to Shanghai to develop and share the dividends of opening up. Finally, I wish today's forum a complete success. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ge, for your wonderful sharing, and also thank you very much for the invitation. We hope more friends can come to Shanghai to seek cooperation. Just now, Mr. Ge introduced to us the future of asset management center construction in Shanghai, as well as the contributions made by Shanghai. I believe there will be more friends choosing Shanghai to be the gateway to come to China.
Mr. Ge Ping's excellent comment by showing us about the future plan of Shanghai Global Asset Management Center and the contribution from Shanghai to improve the investment and business environment. We believe that it will robust the confidence of the global asset management investors to choose Shanghai for the window to enter the China's capital market. 好的，女士们、先生们，接下来呢，我们将继续邀请嘉宾，我们将邀请新加坡金融管理局驻中国首席代表黄家军女士为我们致辞。Let's welcome Ms. Lin Jiajun, Chief Representative of Monetary Authority of Singapore, China Office.
Your Excellency, Mr. Ge, Ms. Zhao, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. Here, I would like to thank the Bank of China for the invitation, so I'm really honored to come to the forum and deliver a speech. This year, our topic is connectivity and high-level opening up. This is very much in line with how the national leaders at China and Singapore to agree to elevate to all-weather, high-quality and forward-looking friendship. Especially financial service, this is a great pillar of support. Financial service serves the real economy. It also promotes China and ASEAN to further expand the cooperation and two-way exchanges. In past 14 years, China has been the largest partner of ASEAN. Apart from cross-border business, China and ASEAN enterprises also invest and achieve internationalization. In order to better support these active economic activities, both China and Singapore are dedicated to expanding financial services. Especially, the connectivity of the capital market plays a very important role. This is because our economies are connected and it opens a new horizon for in-depth collaboration, brings more investors, and promotes the emerging industries to transform and achieve low-carbon development. And this year, we have issued the ETF. which would help the Chinese investors to invest in ETF launched in Singapore. Also, the international investors through Singapore can invest in ETF launched in Shanghai. This means that for the two fast growing market, there is a bridge, and which further promotes the financial product innovation and collaboration. This again gives more opportunities of investment. While we are looking forward to the first ETF between Shanghai and Singapore, I have a good news to share with you. That is, in order to further promote the ETF between China and Singapore, we in this week launched the Shanghai Singapore ETF launch subsidy, so to subsidize the launch cost. Later, our Shanghai representative, Mr. Chen, will give more details in this part. As China and ASEAN enterprises further expand business, our financial institutions are further deeply rooted. So, to better serve customer demands, including cross-border settlement, risk management, etc. So this also helps financial institutions to strengthen resiliency, especially in difficult periods like COVID. In these years, there are more and more Singapore enterprises invest more. Like we set up the securities company from the DBS, as well as like Bank of China, Oriental Securities. They also expand business in Singapore with very good results. So in these years, Singapore tries utmost to provide investors and asset managers a more favorable environment. Till the end of 2022, our AUM reaches 29 trillion RMB with 15% CAGR, providing investors with many different investment policies, including alternatives, derivatives, and traditional financial products. In spite of challenges in the capital market, big asset management institutions still make decisions to set up subsidiaries or headquarters of international business in Singapore. We also hope we can better help Chinese industries to promote the stable development of the financial industry. So we need to fully understand each other's market, explore opportunities. That is very important. That is why I'm really glad that later IMAS and Shanghai IMAS would sign the MOU. So to further strengthen exchanges in business, information, talents, there will be more in-depth collaboration. IMAS and AMAS, as the representative between us, will further promote mutual interconnectivity. Here I congratulate and wish the cooperation between IMAS and AMAS every success, and I believe we too can develop together and embark upon a new journey. In these years, China and Singapore understand each other, believe in each other, and we set up comprehensive and long-term partnership. In 2019, Shanghai-Singapore Cooperation Council was set up. Financial service as an important part of it. It is the very important part of us. I believe that with our common efforts, we will further strengthen collaboration and we will further promote the better development between China and ASEAN, and together embark upon a new journey. Today, it is a great opportunity. So together, we will talk about in financial service industry, our connectivity and collaboration, so that we can better prepare for the future. Here, I wish today's forum a complete success. Thank you all.
带来精彩的致辞，为我们展望了全球资本新趋势之下中国和新加坡金融合作的广阔前景，也为我们未来如何进一步的去深化合作贡献了很多宝贵的建议。Thank you for Ms. Ning Jiajun. Looking forward to the brightening future of the China-Singapore financial cooperation under the new trend and contributes the valuable signs on how to further deepen the future financial cooperation between China and Singapore. Thank you again for your excellent sharing. Thanks. 好，接下来我们继续有请中国银行业务管理总监赵荣女士发言。Let's invite Ms. Zhao Rong, Chief Business and Management Officer of Bank of China, to have her address.
Your Excellency, Mr. Ge Ping, Chief Representative Wang Kai-kun, Mr. Chen Shiliang, Li Wen, and Vice President Luo Dongyuan, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends from media, good afternoon. In beautiful autumn, I'm really glad to meet with all of you in the Financial Center Shanghai to attend the 2023 Shanghai Global Asset Management Forum. Dialogue with Singapore Internationalization Session. So together with friends from China and Singapore, we are gathered to talk about our future collaboration and winning results. Here, on behalf of the Bank of China, I would like to extend a warm welcome to colleagues from China and Singapore, express my sincere thanks to you for your long-term support. I also want to thank all the friends and colleagues who join us online. Congratulations. The 20th MPC report emphasized the further opening up. Just now, Mr. Ge, Chief Representative Wang, all talked about how we can have pragmatic cooperation with your ideas, and we are deeply inspired. Singapore is the leading international financial center, as well as the gathering of international asset management institutions and global wealth, important RMB offline center with vigorous financial ecosystem and booming financial development. Shanghai is the gateway of financial development with many financial infrastructure, institutions, talents, favorable business environment. We have basically set up the International Financial Center in line with our economic strength and RMB internationalization, with higher levels and more clear functions. We're glad to see that China and Singapore supervisory institutions have high consensus on promoting financial cooperation. In these years, China and Singapore have fruitful results. Financial institutions all make plans in each other's market with connectivity of each other's capital markets. Together with Shanghai Stock Exchange, Singapore is carrying out widespread collaboration with China. Singapore also increases the investment in RMB assets, ranking the second largest investor country.
The Bank of China has been operating in Singapore for 87 years, and it's a witness, promoter, and also beneficiary of economic, trade, and financial cooperation between the two countries. In recent years, the capital markets of the two countries have been interconnected rapidly, and the institutional layouts of the Bank of China in Singapore has become increasingly complete. Bank of China had established the the headquarters in Singapore in the terms of the R&D centers and other regional or global financial platforms. It also has the financial leasing aviation branches, and it is also serving the Southeast Asia as well as the world. We have a great promising perspective for the development of Singapore in asset management, and also our funds will establish the asset management company in Singapore. Now the approval has been completed. Further on, we are going to jointly witness the memorandum between Shanghai Asset Management Association and Singapore Investment Management Association. It is also going to be a very in-depth cooperation and communication between the two countries and these two platforms. That's another encouraging practice between the two sides. Looking into the future, Bank of China will continue to expand its strategic layouts in Singapore, give full play to its international comprehensive characteristics, and rely on Singapore's advantages in foreign exchange, commodity and derivatives, asset management, wealth management, and private banking, focusing on the promoting cross-border finance, green finance, and wealth management, so as to make greater contributions to economic, trade, and financial cooperation between the two countries. Looking forward into the future, Bank of China will continue to enhance its comprehensive service capabilities for overseas institutional investors, so as to facilitate the Singaporean asset management industry to better participate in China's capital market. Singapore's asset management industry has great market potential and has become one of the most important transit points for global institutional investors to invest in China's capital market, accounting for nearly 1/5 of the global market share. After its establishment, the BOC Asset Management will focus on introducing China-themed asset management products to the Singaporean markets and to share the economic benefits with the world. The Bank of China will continue to devote itself to RMB full product services, keep pace with the opening up of bond markets, stock market, and future markets, and continue to expand and enrich its product portfolio so as to provide more choices for investors for both countries. Continue to cooperate and innovate with SGX on RMB products, improve the abilities of the quotation and quantitative trading, and consolidate on the dominant positions of the RMB future markets business, so as to provide the onshore offshore businesses for RMB, and also provide the development of the RMB capital trading, trusting, and investment, so as to promote the use and activity of RMB in Singapore's offshore market and inject new vitality into the trading centers. Distinguished guests, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the President Xi Jinping's initiative to jointly build the Belt and Road Initiative. Over the past decade, China-Singapore economic and trade cooperation has achieved fruitful results. As an important participant and promoter of China-Singapore financial cooperation, Bank of China is honored to launch and host today's forum, which will build a bridge for the continuous deepening of China-Singapore's financial cooperation, gather wisdom, and contribute to the bank's strengths for China-Singapore financial cooperation at a higher level. Finally, thank you again for being here. I wish this forum a complete success. Thank you.
谢谢赵文总监从商业银行角度向我们展示了如何支持中国和新加坡的金融合作。我们也相信中国银行将会在这样的一个高质量合作中发挥更为重要的作用。Thank you for Ms. Zhao Rong to share with us about the commercial bank perspective to how to support the cooperation between China and Singapore. We believe that the Bank of China will play a very important role in this cooperation. 好的，女士们、先生们，接下来我们将进入到一个非常重要的环节。为了进一步落实
Now we're going to come into a very important session in order to further implement Shanghai's construction towards the World Asset Management Center. And this Asset Management Association has been established. It has been working closely with the overseas financial organizations, for example, with Singapore.
Construction of Shanghai Global Asset Management Center. The Asset Management Association of Shanghai has been established in September 2022. For the past 1 year, the Asset Management Association of Shanghai has actively communicated with overseas associations of asset management industry, including Singapore. 今天呢，在现场我们非常荣幸地宣布，上海资产管理协会和新加坡投资管理协会将进一步深化双方合作，在现场签署备忘录的签约活动。接下来呢，就即将进入到这样一个非常重要的仪式。Today at this event, we are much honored to announce that the Asset Management Association of Shanghai and the Investment Management Association of Singapore will further deepen their cooperation. The signing of the memorandum of understanding between the two associations will be conducted on site. 接下来呢，让我们掌声有请新加坡投资管理协会总裁黄爱群女士、上海资产管理协会会长、汇天富基金管理股份有限公司董事长李文先生登台。Now let's welcome Ms. Herman Wei, President of the Investment Management Association of Singapore, Mr. Li Wen, President of Asset Management Association of Shanghai, and Chairman of China Universal Asset Management, come to the stage to signing the memorandum. 请两位嘉宾落笔签约。两个协会合作备忘录的签约正式落成了，非常高兴，请合影留念 ，Please have a picture。我们非常高兴地看到两个协会的深入合作，也希望两个协会在未来中新资管合作中发挥着更为重要和积极的作用。We are very happy to see the in-depth cooperation between the two associations。请落座 ，Please have a seat。And hope that the two associations will play an important and active role in the future cooperation between China and Singapore in asset management industry. 好，接下来我们将进入到的是主题演讲的环节。Next, we'll move to the keynote speech. 我们将首先有请国泰君安证券股份有限公司副总裁罗东元先生给我们带来主题为“加强中新金融高质量合作，助力资本市场高水平对外开放”的演讲。我们掌声有请。Firstly, we will invite Mr. Luo Dongyuan, Vice President of Guotai Junan Securities, will give us a speech on the topic of strengthening high-quality financial cooperation between China and Singapore, accelerate the high-level opening up of the capital market.
Dear leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'd like to thank the organizer, Yicai, and Bank of China for your invitation, and also for allowing me with this opportunity to participate in this Shanghai Global Asset Management Forum and to give my keynote speech on internationalization and cooperation. The modern capital market with Chinese characteristics is a two-way opened-up market. It welcomes global investors. At the same time, it greatly supports the local companies to go global. In the recent years, Chinese capital market has been accelerated in its opening up to the world and has made fruitful achievements. The approval rates have been higher, and with the speed up of the opening up, the efficiency for cross-border investment is also enhanced. Now, I'd like to speak on behalf of a market practitioner and share with you on three aspects. First, China-Singapore financial cooperation is of great significance to the high-quality development of China's capital market. The China-Singaporean financial cooperation has a sound foundation. It also boasts a greater potential. Singapore is the pearl between the two oceans and also a key juncture city among different Silk Roads and the Maritime Silk Road. In 2015, President Xi Jinping has carried out a state visit to Singapore, and together with the leaders of Singapore, led the two countries' relationship into a new era. In the recent few years, China-Singapore relations have been more tight, and we have seen very close development between the two countries in economy and many aspects. That has become the second largest RMB offshore trading center. Now we have seen there has been from 11 to 700 organizations in trading of RMB. And the market value of these Chinese companies in SGX has accounted for over 30%. And as for the A50 composite, has become a very important index for global investment into the Chinese market. And China-Singapore cooperation has entered into a new age. To improve China-Singapore cooperation is going to bring a more diversified portfolio for investment and with more opportunities, also to increase the direct capital flow between these two countries. At the same time, between Singapore and the world, especially the Asia-Pacific area, it has a very tight economical bond. The two sides cooperation is also contributive to the indirect flow of capital between China and other parts of the world. Is going to facilitate the going global process of the Chinese companies. At the same time, the RMB-based assets will be introduced to more countries and investors so that they are going to know more about the Chinese capital market and to share the dividends from China's high-quality development. At the same time, China and Singapore development in the economy has been in different stages, and there is strong complementarity between these asset natures. The open up between the two sides is going to be conducive towards the global asset allocation of investors, so as to dig into the potentials of the assets, enhance the efficiency of investment. And second, the connection between these two parties is also complementary to each other in each other's strong suits. In this year, with a senior think tank of China investment has, together with their foreign counterparts, they have made a China-Singapore composite report. In this ranking, Singapore and Shanghai has been ranking number 3rd and 7th in terms of the global investment destinations. And according to the Live丨2023 Research Institute, in its report, Singapore and Shanghai has been ranking in terms of the asset management in number 5 and number 6. So in its construction towards the building of asset centers, it's going to complementary to each other in the strong suits and share the resources. Shanghai is a market with the most adequate infrastructure and economical factors. It is also bearing an important task of connecting China to the world. Singapore is very internationalized. It offers a better soft environment and has rich experience in operation of the world finance. In-depth cooperation between Shanghai and Singapore is going to have a very good composite effect and increase efficiency. And second, in the process of accelerating China's capital market opening up, and it's also going to facilitate with the Shanghai Global Asset Management Center construction. It's going to attract more mid and long-term investment funds into the Chinese market. In recent years, we have seen fluctuations with the Asian market, and the enthusiasm for market trading has been lower than expected. And the incremental investment is going to be a key part for investment, but a lack of the mid to long-term investment is going to be a prominent issue. With the Asia market, the mid to long-term funds has been less than 6%. It's far less than the 20%, which is the international average. So based on that, the A-share market participated foreign funds mostly are open institutional investors with a long-term investment perspective. On July 24th, according to the Politburo meetings of the CPC, it is said that it's going to increase the confidence for the investors. And as for the CSRC, it has made stipulations in policies to further balance the primary and secondary markets to support the listed companies in the share buyouts and buybacks, so as to provide with their payouts dividends and to promote equity-based funds. There has been a 50% down in terms of the stamp taxes. With all these policies, it's going to gradually increase the confidence of the investors, effectively improve the vitality of the market, attractiveness, and also efficiency. At the same time, we should see for the Chinese economy to be in the long term have a very optimistic future. This a fundamental trend has not been changed, and we are already seeing the Asian market in the bottom for rebounds. And for the monetary policies, it's quite lax from the policy end. And as for the local bonds and the real estate sector's risks have been mitigated, and we have seen recoveries with the local consumers' consumptions and the economy is going backward. So for the market earnings has been at a fairly good condition. With A-share markets, we shall be more confident about these companies.
We shall further optimize the capital market, enhance vitality, increase the sense of fulfillment and safety for market participants. We need to have more tools of asset allocation so to attract more mid to long-term capital, including foreign capital, into Chinese market. We need to further expand our investment so to further improve the connectivity between domestic and international markets, reduce the threshold of investment, expand the channel of cooperation, diversify the products of investment, increase the convenience of capital flowing into China, so to build more smooth channel. In the long-term capital resource allocation and valuations, Chinese market will become a better asset allocation and wealth management platform. And second, we want to encourage more international institutions to come to China to settle in Shanghai. Now we already have a massive market. The stock market of Shanghai stock market is the second in the world. IPO size is also the largest. In 2020-2023, in first half, the biggest securities of IPO are the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Since 2016, we have been the second largest market in the world. Our futures transaction account for over 7% of the global. High-quality development of Chinese capital market is very attractive to international investors. In these years, as the CSRC cancel the hold sharing of foreign capital, international financial institutions all increase their allocation. Now we have 3 wholly foreign-owned subsidiaries, 9 futures wholly owned by foreign companies. The access of international investors increased the width and depth of Chinese capital market. It is beneficial for service capability as well. And we should further improve the opening up to the outside world, gather more talents and institutions to participate in Chinese domestic capital market. Shanghai will continue to innovate capital market, improve the environment, attract more high-level financial institutions from abroad to China and Shanghai, support qualified foreign institutions to set up bonds, futures, pension fund institutions, strengthen QFLP and QDLP pilot programs, increase the construction of Shanghai as the international asset management center, enhance the level of Shanghai into the international financial center. And the third, we need to further build an international collaboration platform. We need to provide more convenient conditions for cross-border investment, strengthen connectivity between China and Singapore, accelerate product innovation, make the investment channels more smooth, provide more diversified transaction services, and risk hedge tools for domestic and international investors. We need to further explore the ETF and other products between China and Singapore, improve the opening up product systems so to meet the demands for cross-border investment. We should further promote the cross-border system. At the same time, we also need to strengthen the international transaction platform, so to increase the capability of Shanghai in capital allocation. We need to further promote carbon trading platform between Shanghai and Singapore, so to promote green finance cooperation. We shall further improve derivative transaction system, increase the liquidity of domestic and international futures market. And at last, please allow me to introduce Guotai Junan Securities Investment in Singapore. We want to cover the major global financial markets. We will bring into full play advantages of international resource platform so we can better serve the cross-border customers. In these years in Singapore, we have wide coverage of institutions in Singapore. As a comprehensive securities service provider, we always seek for excellence, and we respond to the Belt and Road initiative. We are deeply settled in Singapore market since 2015. We set up asset management companies in Singapore, securities companies, and futures company in Singapore. These are 3 professional subsidiaries of us. And we also serve the members of IMAS. We also build an association to further strengthen the connectivity and cooperation with Singapore partners. Our Singapore Securities Company also provides the financial institutions with market sales, and we work with hundreds of companies for very good collaboration. We cover most of the famous enterprises in Singapore and international institutions. Singapore Futures Company was set up in 2012. That is a platform of futures and derivatives. It got approved in license from the IMAS, so we can carry out the OTC and the leverage derivative products. On September 7th, we got approved in the settlement. So in many different areas, we have in-depth collaboration with Singapore. Since 2021, we participated in the ETF making. We provide liquidity support. We account for 10% of the total. We also participate in Singapore-Switzerland investment. With capital, we have very good collaboration. And we will continue to provide education and market promotion. In order to further strengthen the data release of Singapore, it released 3 securities which can carry out data transactions, and we are one of them. In April this year, we started to provide customers with the information in Singapore stock market, stock exchange. We issued the first index. In October, we just issued our overseas carbon futures, so to provide global customers with more release and launch together with DBS and other local Singapore companies, like also each company or other international banks, Singapore subsidiaries in terms of the spot market, credit derivatives, interest derivatives. We have long-term collaboration, and we provide the national bonds, futures, and other services. And the third, we will continue to develop the bilateral opening up between China and Singapore. We will continue to seize the opportunities to better serve the connectivity between China and Singapore, deepen the financial collaboration, and bring into full play the comprehensive service provider of Guotai Junan. So to promote the synergy among subsidiaries of Singapore, we will gather more resources, so to provide all-weather support to customers and more diversified investment channel, so to increase their participation and the market influence, so to attract more investors to deeply participate in the global market. And the second, we continue to maintain our internationalization. Apart from Singapore, we also have different international businesses. So in 2025, we want to achieve the full coverage of international financial markets in all functions. We will further deepen the integrated management of cross-border business, optimize FICC, supplement equity product line, accelerate cross-border derivatives, further strengthen brokerage and wealth management in Hong Kong, increase the cross-border asset allocation capability. We will also promote differentiated subsidiaries overseas, increase their functions. Like the Macau subsidiary is for high net worth individuals to provide the global equity products, and will further expand the securities finance for Macau. In Vietnam, we will have more fintech application to increase institutional sales, to have differentiated advantages. In this year, we will also open our British subsidiary, which will influence Europe to provide high-quality cross-border financial service, so to become an important gateway of us in European financial market. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, as the industrial-leading comprehensive securities and a local state-owned financial company, we serve the real economy as well as the long-term development in finance. In the future, we hope to continue to build up win-win and continuous collaboration with Singapore, so to join hands to develop an open financial ecosystem, and we can provide our contributions to capital market open up. Thank you.
带来精彩的演讲啊，也为中兴未来加强金融合作带来了全新的视角。Thank you for Mr. 罗东元's excellent sharing speech, and for your advice and insights to bring a new perspective to enhance the financial cooperation between China and Singapore. 好的，女士们、先生们，接下来呢，我们即将进入到的是圆桌对话的环节。Ladies and gentlemen, now let's move to the panel discussion. 我们今天的圆桌对话将分成3个部分来进行，这3个话题呢，分别是互联互通、赋能中兴资管市场合作。Our panel discussion today will divide it into 3 parts. Firstly, will be the connectivity facilitates cooperation in asset management industry between China and Singapore. 第2个话题呢是互惠深化中兴绿色金融合作，助力可持续发展。The second topic will be deepen China-Singapore green finance cooperation on sustainable development. 那么第3个话题呢，我们将会聚焦互利共赢，拓展中兴人民币金融产品合作新空间。The third topic will be explore China-Singapore new cooperation space in renminbi financial products. 我们呢将和来自中兴双方交易所、资管机构、行业协会等各领域的专家一起来探讨这3个大家共同关心的话题。Experts from various institutions such as exchanges, asset managers, and industry associations will gather together. I believe we will definitely have some inspired perspectives from all the sharing from the guests. 接下来呢，就让我们掌声有请第一财经主持人尹凡先生来主持接下来的圆桌对话。Now let's giving the floor to moderator Mr. 尹凡。Mr. In, please.
谢谢宇飞。Hello. 好，谢谢。
Thank you, Yicai. The topic for this roundtable session is connectivity enables China-Singapore asset management market cooperation. Singapore is a very special country to China. Over 40 years of reform and opening up, Singapore has become a channel for China's opening up to the outside world. And with the Belt and Road Initiative, China and Singapore has established all kinds of connectivities, especially in finance. And the prospective cooperation between China and Singapore had offered new guidelines for the cooperations in finance. With the 3 forum sessions, we're going to discuss with different parties in Singapore about connectivity. Now let's welcome our guests for this first session. First, Mr. Guo Deqiu, General Manager of Custody Service Bank of China. Now, Mr. Chen Shiliang from Singapore Exchange Correspondent in Shanghai, and Mr. Chen Daiyun, Mr. Lou Yan from the China Universal, and Mr. Jeffrey, Mr. Wu Huapi from Shenhuan Wanyuan Singapore Pte Limited. Let's welcome. And of course, we have a guest online from joining from Singapore. Let's have a look at Jeffrey, our friend online.
Hello, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey is the Chief Investment Officer from Phillip Capital Group. Today, with our 6 guests, that's a very strong and diversified cast. We have several ones from the bank, from the financial organizations, and we would like to start with Mr. Chen from SGX. Today, our topic is the connectivity between China and Singapore, especially in the financial area. If we need to further enrich the connectivity between Singapore and China and to facilitate a better cooperation, how should we do it? And especially from SGX point of view. Thank you. Thank you, my moderator. In terms of connectivity, Singapore SGX has been reaching cooperative partnership with many exchanges in the world, which is going to facilitate the market innovation and promote and expand the asset portfolios, including commodity, securities, and fixed income products, so as to facilitate the cross-border capital flow. In Southeast Asia, we have been working with Thailand's exchange on the custody certificates. And now we have 3 stocks from Thailand that's been listed in SGX. And one of the SGX stocks have been listed in Thailand with these depository receipts. So in terms of China, for Shenzhen Exchange and SGX, by the end of 2022, we have sent a memorandum between us and Shenzhen. This memorandum is going to further improve the connectivity between China and Singapore. Last year, by the year end of last year, the first 3 ETFs have been listed in the Shenzhen's portfolios. These 3 ETFs would include the South Fund and the Ping An funds. They have been jointly promoted by these companies. So with these 3 ETFs, this marks China and Singapore's enhanced capital connectivity and its great achievements in these aspects, especially the Shenzhen Exchange listed Southern listed ETF and the SGX listed South Zhongying 50 and the innovative board, so that in green finance and science and innovation is going to offer more choice to the investors of both countries. At the same time, SGX in last year in these Shenzhen and Singapore ETFs framework that has been subsidy launched. This subsidy options allows the investors to have the ETF and save them for around 180,000 Singapore dollars of subsidy. This measure, with this solution, had been a support from the SGX, which is going to improve the willingness and motivation of all the issuers. It's our great pleasure that in this May, we have worked with Shanghai Exchange and signed the ETF memorandum. With such cooperation, it has greatly helpful because first, it has connected these two greatly healthy developing ETF markets, and it has also expanding the product portfolio between China and Singapore. At the same time, it has further facilitated with the asset management companies' cooperations, and also it has provided the investors of both countries with a more rich choice. Thank you, Mr. Chen. You mentioned about the Shenzhen and Singapore. I think this might have forget about Mr. Chen from Shanghai Exchange. So let's hear from Mr. Chen. Let's talk about Shanghai Exchange and what will be the ETF exchanges in the past. Well, for ETF, such connectivity is based on a model that both markets fund managers are going to have absolute cooperations and set up a new ETF in each of the markets and to invest in the other markets. This is a very representative ETF. And for the inbound and outbound going of money is going to be on the model that the ETF private funds will enjoy many advantages. First, this operation is quite mature up until today. And under the deployment of CSRC, Shanghai Exchange has launched the Shanghai Tokyo and Shanghai Hong Kong Connects. These has been running very well. And between China and Tokyo in 2019, June, we have had 8 ETFs being approved and listed in Shanghai Exchange and Tokyo Exchange. And as for Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect, it has been launched as well. Thank you, Mr. Chen from Shanghai Exchange. So I think either for these different exchanges, these infrastructure connectivities have been greatly improved. So now let's hear from the company representatives. First of all, let's welcome Mr. Jeffrey from Philips. So Philips, after the introduction from the exchanges, is there any achievements from your point of view to be shared from the China-Singapore cooperation, and what is its specialty or significance?
Is there any achievement that you could share with us in recent years from your perspective? What are the main policy opportunities from the expansion of the bilateral connectivity? Jeffrey, you mute? Are you mute, Jeffrey? Jeffrey 可能是 mute 了。这样，同样的问题，我们还是回到线上，我们请娄总来回答一下。我们进行一下，我们技术看一下到底。
Let's see if there's any issues with Jeffrey's side. Jeffrey, I think you're still on mute. So, from China University's point of view, I would like to ask Mr. Liu what will be the opportunities. I think Jeffrey might have muted himself just now. You're on mute, Jeffrey. So now we're going to have our technicians get in touch with Jeffrey, and we can discuss at the moment. So I would like to say and share with you on China Universal and our updates. For China Universal, we pay close attention to international business. In 2009, we are the first to set up our wholly owned Hong Kong branch for public offering companies. That's the first time for us to go global and set us overseas branches. In 2009, we have set up a wholly owned branch in the US. And by the end of March this year, CSRC has approved our Singapore branch. In May, our asset management company has been established in Hong Kong. By the end of this month, it is going to move into its new office. We welcome everyone here, our dear counterparts and colleagues, to visit us at our Singapore office. Now our business is covered in several aspects. First, we work with sovereign funds, family offices, wealth management companies, and we work with them on the wealth investment consultancies. We also work with the pension funds and the intermediaries in these long-term investment decisions. And next, our subsidiary in Singapore is going to rely on our parent company and with a joint concerted efforts of different branches, subsidiaries. We're going to promote our business in Singapore, Southeast Asia, or even Middle East and Australia. And as you have just asked, regarding our later on cooperation thoughts, probably that would be first, we are going to rely on the local Singaporean asset management companies. Now we are already working with, for example, with Jeffrey. We have been working with Philip already. I think we have someone from China Universal already. We're going to boost our business between the SGX and the Shanghai Exchange on the northbound connect, as we believe it's going to be launched by the end of this month or early next year. Jeffrey is waving at us. So let's confirm. Now let's hear from Mr. Wu. Would you like to hear from Shenwan? And as for Shenwan, we work on the security exchanges and resource management. And for asset management in Singapore has been developing very fastly based on the regulators' latest data in Singapore. According to the report, by 2021, Singapore asset management compared with last year has seen a 16.4% increase. That means we have a 5.4% trillion US Singapore dollars. And in Singapore 2022, we have launched this VCC asset management model. So that means now we have 450 licensed organizations setting up 700 funds. So that means the asset management in Singapore has been booming as well. And compared with the Chinese side, the capital opening up in China has been orderly and consistently opening up. By 2022, September 4th, CSRC has agreed on the Q fee to be expanded. So the newly expanded Q fees as targets will be also established. And now we are also working on the Singapore Q fee based investment in Singapore on the commodities and futures. So now we see both sides have been opening up on the markets, and China's market support has further enhanced the confidence from both sides investors so that are going to engage in each other's markets in a more in-depth way. Thank you, Mr. Wu. Indeed, from your point of view, these two countries' financial connectivity infrastructure has been greatly helpful to the business on each side. Now Jeffrey is ready. Now let's invite Jeffrey back.
So Jeffrey, are you ready, right? Yes. So anything interesting you can share with us? I can hear you, Jeffrey.
I can hear you, Jeffrey.
Okay. Good afternoon, 大家好. So Sino-Singapore Asset Management Corporation has grown steadily over the years. This has flourished on the back of the strong, deep, and multifaceted ties between Singapore and China. Singapore is already ASEAN's biggest investor in China. The massive Singapore Suzhou Industrial Park in Jiangsu province, negotiated at the highest levels of government, reflects the strong ties between the two countries. The Sino-Singapore connectivity will further enhance investment flows between the two major stock exchanges in Asia, namely Shanghai and Singapore. At Phillip Capital Management, we have been exploring collaborations with Chinese partners over the years and have now narrowed it to China Universal, a leading fund manager with market leadership in stock picking and ETFs. We have a similar history and background. China is a very important market for us. 5,000 years of history, but it took a mere 30 years to transform from an agrarian economy to a tech and service-oriented one, which took the US and Europe 2 to 3 centuries. China's rise, especially in the sectors that China is leading the world, such as electric vehicles, batteries, drones, 5G and 6G communications, will provide significant investment opportunities for Singapore investors. For Chinese investors, we can offer Singapore Income and Real Estate Investment Trusts that provide steady dividend yields, as well as retirement and global funds, where we are present in 16 countries, including the major global financial centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey 非常非常的客气啊，大家都提到了这个 China。我们听了3位。
Yeah, so now we have heard from 3 representatives of companies, and now let's turn to our leader of Bank of China about connectivity. The connectivity between China and Singapore, what the BOC has done, and how do we see such connectivity between China and Singapore and achievements. Thank you for giving me this opportunity so that I can share with you what we have done in Bank of China. We are a global and comprehensive service platform. And in these years, we provide Chinese and Singapore enterprises with like cross-border settlement, financing, consultation, business matchmaking. I am from the custodian bank. We have done a lot. One is for Shanghai and Singapore exchange, for the first batch of ETF products, the Huatai ETF custodian bank. We also participate in the preliminary preparations. We will further support its online work in next step to enrich the innovation. And also with the increasing demand of investors from both countries, the BOC will spare no effort to help Singapore institutions to come to China and Chinese companies to go global. Like we have the QFII, and the BOC took the lead in assisting Singapore trading companies like Talk Asia, Singlong to obtain the QFII and invest. So to expand the QFII from financial institutions to entity enterprises. Another example is with the help of domestic and foreign institutions in Singapore branch, we help domestic investors to achieve overseas asset allocation through QDLP. Through QDLP funds plus local custody, we provide one-stop services. We are really glad to participate in that. And we have witnessed achievements of capital market cooperation between us. So our connectivity has further enriched and deepened. With enriching the investment pools, we can further expand cross-border investment and benefit people. Thank you, Mr. Guo. Yes, like Guo said, in terms of connectivity, BOC has done a lot. So now let's turn to another topic. That is, the connectivity needs to work on more tangible things, the products that can be implemented. So more people would benefit from it. So I want to ask Chen, the SGX CEO Luo is also in Shanghai. We also interviewed him. In the interview, he felt that the next step of Singapore exchange, our next step is to launch products that can be implemented. We both sides demand. What is the future plan for developing connected products, so which can be implemented? Well, I want to further extend the ETF. Well, right now, for the progress, I want to talk about our background. The background is the Singapore Stock Exchange is the most diversified and most international stock exchange in Asia. So it has become a one-stop services, including Southeast Asia. The Singapore Stock Exchange, 40% of the listed companies are overseas. 1/3 is from Southeast Asia, including Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and Myanmar. Investors can also use other products like ETF or real estate, spot market, or depositories to get access to economic development. Through ETF connectivity, Chinese investors can also participate in the Southeast Asia economic development. A very good example is recently, like Guosad from the Guotai, which issued the SGX Pan-Asia Technology Fund, which will be released in Shanghai Stock Exchange. The time will be released later, but this ETF will help Chinese investors to participate in the fast economic development in ASEAN, in Southeast Asia. In these years, we are also working with international investors to come to the market here with the efforts of both sides. Since the connectivity, with the launch of ETF, we are really glad that on November 9th, we will have the Wells Fargo 1000 ETF. And the other is, we know Guotai, Bairui, and the South Fund. They are also working on the ETF together with Huitianfu. We will see the launch in next few months. Just now we talked about the support from SGX. Since last year, ETF product, we offered subsidy last year, and on October 9th, we just released the new subsidy for the China-Singapore ETF from May 19th to 2025, March 30th. So such China-Singapore ETF will be extended its subsidy for 6 more months to like the middle of 2024. Yeah, so these are few policies that we can continue to promote, continue to deepen our connectivity. Well, just now we have heard from the SGX. Now let's turn to the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Actually, between Shanghai and Singapore, we are promoting, when the product will be launched. I think like Guosad, the Huatai, Baiyue, the Pan-Asia Technology ETF. And we heard that the products have been very well prepared. So I think it is very likely very soon they will be launched. Let's turn to law from Huitianfu. Chen mentioned the ETF issuance. It also mentioned Huitianfu. Does it mean that Huitianfu will have similar products being launched? Yes. We are really honored that together with the very famous Philip Capital Group to have cooperation with them. And we have the MSCI China A50 connectivity. This is between the SGX and the Shanghai Stock Exchange. We are also, depending on your support, I hope very soon we can promote its launch. And next, in the future, if everything is successful, we want to further promote another ETF with southern cities. In the future, if there is a fund being issued by Huitianfu, we want to also issue another fund to invest in Singapore stock market. Yeah, that is what we will do. For Huitianfu, we will continue to work with different financial institutions in Singapore for more collaboration, and we will further expand to different areas, not just the stock, but also like fixed assets, rates, digital assets, etc. We can have more comprehensive collaboration. Yeah, so with such good infrastructure, fund companies like you, I believe we will be more easier to invest both ways. Like you mentioned, Hui Li, so our next question is to Jeffrey. the Phillip Capital, I want to ask for ETF connectivity fund.
Shanghai Stock Exchange and Singapore SGX will jointly develop and promote both ETF markets through the master feeder fund architecture model and expand the listing scope of ETF feeder funds between China and Singapore. So, Jeffrey, does Phillip Capital have any cooperation plans with counterparts in Chinese markets to increase investment choice for investors in Singapore market?
Yes. So thank you for your question. We are collaborating with China Universal to offer innovative China-focused ETFs to be listed on the Singapore stock market. As a start, we are working on the MSCI A50 ETF, which has superior risk-adjusted returns compared to its peers. This can be attributed to the higher representation of the growth sectors where China is a global leader, such as electric vehicles, renewables, batteries, at the expense of financial and real estate sectors. Additionally, we will build innovative structured products on this ETF with our counterparties, such as private banks, family offices, and wealth managers. The pool of capital available for investment in the Singapore market is deep and growing. Singapore attracted more money than ever before in 2021, with 450 billion Sing dollars in new funds, according to the most recent data available from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We expect 2022 to be even higher. These strong inflows of funds into Singapore will help underpin the demand for innovative and value-adding ETFs, such as the MSCI A50 ETF. To elaborate further, foreign investors own less than 4% of China's domestic equity market, compared with 26% for US stock market and 20% for Indian stock market. The current outflow of foreign funds from China's stock markets and the extreme negative news on Chinese real estate and geopolitics provide Singapore investors with a unique investment opportunity into our proposed MSCI A50 ETF. Thank you.
好，谢谢 Jeffrey。Jeffrey 他是有 CIO 感觉，有这个。
Well, I feel that you are like the CIO, you know very well and you elaborate a lot on investment opportunities. Now let's turn to Wu. I know just in April, the SGX and you, Shenwan Hongyuan, signed the MOU. What is it about? And what will be something we can share? Okay, so this MOU is in two areas. One is the derivatives to have further collaboration, and the other is in FSCC. And right now, after we signing in A50, we already have cross-border collaboration, and we also issue our products connected with A50, so to achieve connectivity. And we will continue to collaborate in this area. Just last week, the president of SGX went to us and carried out exchanges with us. In the future, in the overall stock market, the index derivatives, fixed income, bulk commodities, rates, etc., we will have more in-depth collaboration. At the same time, in market data, investment education, SGX will also help us. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wu. Now let's turn to Guo of BOC. we have representatives of financial institutions, asset management, or securities. They all talk a lot about connectivity and how it helps cross-border collaboration. So as a commercial bank, what you can share with us in connectivity?
Based on our shared experience in the last few years, the two-way opening up of China's financing market has been accelerated. We have seen many new policies being launched, for example, with GDR5 and the mutual connectivity, for example, with Shanghai, London Stock Connect and Southbound Connect. With all these different connectivities, it has been launched many different channels with the lowering of the threshold for Q fee, expansion of the investment channels, and remove of the quotas for investment. And now we see this QD quota have been increased by 60%, and QDLP, QLDP have been launched in many cities. For Bank of China, towards many cross-border organizations, we have been deeply engaged, and we have seen very active achievements. Since 2018, we have been providing service to the first Shanghai Tokyo Connect of stock, and also for the Shanghai London Stock Connect, and we have been going to London for such services. According to our survey, since 2002, Bank of China has been accounting for 60% of such programs. In 2021, as one of the 3 pilot banks, we have been implementing on the first southbound connectivity programs. And for our Hong Kong branch has been the most important southbound investment implementing parties. So our foreign exchange and RMB currency settlement capabilities has been very strong in our development of the programs. For example, with the QFI and QD products, in the counterparts, we have been ranking first for many years, and we have also built the most extensive and strongest Chinese bank overseas networks. And based on our experience, only by abiding by the principles of excellent service and to provide the service to the people, can we have a sustained growth. Only by comprehensive opening up and complementary service to each other and to consolidate the service between inbound and overseas, can we facilitate the exchanges between China and the world. The Bank of China has a mission to go global for the Chinese companies. So last question, we need to look into the future. Let me ask Mr. Lou from China Universal. As China Universal is a top one in China, but going global is the first step. And compared with the global large capital companies, they have been making allocations around the world. Well, for you, in order to enrich such connectivities, do you have any suggestions so that China Universal will be able to place allocations around the world? Well, indeed, we need to learn and we need to continue with our growth. And we have also referred to the experience from Hong Kong and the cross-strait experience. We have been thinking about some recommendations. First, maybe it's possible that we could expand the Shanghai-Singapore portfolios. For example, with the equity products as a basis, we could have some risk products or some semi-fixed income products. For risk markets in China has been developing very fastly, and our fundamental assets are quite high quality. And after the risk adjustments, the yield could be very high. And for the risk market in Singapore, it's quite mature, and it's also one of the major categories with a high share of rates. So for investors, such connectivity is going to become a very important tool, and they would badly need such placements for allocation of capital. Another point is in terms of policies, in innovations, for example, as Mr. Low mentioned, in climate change or low carbon, ESG, green financing, for such products, we suggest that we could open up and improve connectivity, also facilitate their approvals. That's the first recommendation in terms of diversity of the products. And second, for passive investment, since for China-Singapore connectivity is passive, and in In the next step, we could deploy between China and mainland and Hong Kong for the mutual recognition of the funds, which is quite popular in Southeast Asia. For example, the master feeders could be 100% invested in another countries in its public offering of funds. So for these activities, these are another recommendation. Third recommendation is that, as you mentioned, the wealth management. As Jeffrey mentioned, for our Singapore asset management sectors, you have mentioned that you have top world talents in wealth management and also lots of capital. If it's possible that we could improve connectivity and to serve these investors, there will be more choices for investment. We also believe for Philip and MSCI in China Universal, we're going to offer you with much broader choices so as to facilitate our investors to invest in China, because such connectivity programs is going to serve and contribute to a better cross-border cooperations, either investment or cultural, or the forums of today's type is going to facilitate the communication. Well, this is a very great contribution. Especially connectivity is going to contribute to the asset management industry and have the investors mutually investing in each other. That's another allocation requirement. I'd like to hear from Mr. Chen from Shanghai Exchange for connectivity programs and from a macro point of view, from Shanghai Exchange's point of view, what will be the point? According to the 20th national report of the CPC National Congress, the capital market is going to be a very important sector to improve the incomes of the people. Take ETF, for example. It has inclusive financial feature. It's also for the people to improve their wealth as a very important tool. Internationally, the seller and conversing to the buyer's top is going to be a major trend. And that means the top funds are going to channel the investors for a long-term investment so that the people will be able to achieve a common prosperity and increase of income and wealth. With a Shanghai Exchange ETF, the scale is the second largest in Asia, and in terms of the transactions, it's Asia's largest market. We have been learning from Singapore, and we have very extensive cooperation. So we expect the Shanghai-Singapore Stock Connect is going to help with the wealth management and asset management and facilitate the investors of both ends. So now, same question we'd like to ask Jeffrey. From a perspective of the Singapore company.
Actually, the question is under the background.
Collaboration between the asset managers of China and Singapore will have a significant positive impact on the wealth management industry by providing more and better investment alternatives for wealth managers. Since the pandemic, Singapore has seen explosive growth in family offices, private banking, and new discrete tax-efficient funds. The MAS recently reviewed that 1,100 single-family offices from all over the world had qualified for tax incentives last year, an increase of 57% from 700 in 2021. This trend is expected to continue despite the recent money laundering case of Singapore dollars 3 billion. In an increasingly volatile world, Singapore is a safe haven, stable and predictable, with a strong rule of law. It has also a rising currency, which has appreciated by close to 1.5% per annum against the US dollar for the last 40 years. Our collaboration with China Universal bodes well for the wealth management business and the Shanghai Singapore ETF Connect. As these funds inflows into Singapore, have to invest at least 10% or 10 million Sing dollars, whichever is lower, into local investments such as our proposed MSCI A50 ETF to enjoy the favorable tax incentives. Going forward, we will work closely with China Universal to offer innovative global products as well as retirement solutions for the Chinese wealth management and pension markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey 还会和楼总他们未来发展。
Jeffrey is going to jointly launch more products with Mr. Low. So now I would like to hear from Mr. Wu. About wealth management, is there anything to share? Well, based on our past experience for Shenwan Hongyuan, we have paid close attention to our overseas deployments. As for you have mentioned, for China Universal, it's the first one to go to Hong Kong, and for Shenwan, we are the first one to build our office in Hong Kong and the one to list it in Hong Kong. In 2012, we are among the top securities to establish our entities in Singapore. Previously, it has been benefiting from the Bank of China because our securities have been giving us the license from QFII. Therefore, the cross-border ETF is going to see a very robust development. And with their highly efficient service, we have completed our Singapore's first commodity futures investment. And if we look into the future, we are going to steadfastly deploy our business lines as we have deployed. And as a central SOE security, we are going to implement our social responsibilities and tell a good Chinese story. At the same time, for the overseas investments, we are going to offer them with better interaction of Chinese products, and together with the Singapore Chinese banks, public offering companies, and with these investors, we are going to further invest in the Chinese market and facilitate the cooperations between the two sides. Thank you, Mr. Wu. You have talked about Bank of China with their support to you. So, Mr. Guo, from the interested bank's point of view, how do you support them? Well, we have felt in depth with our Chinese capital market booming. With the interested banks, it has been fundamental changes in our service. From a third-party security supervision, it has been expanded to the operational service to the custodians. And now we have been included in this integration service from the banking service as a service platform. It has been converging the information from different platforms. So for Singapore, as a very important global financial center, the Belt and Road aligned countries have greatly attracted FDIs, and with multi-diversified economy, they have a very unique way of development. And as for Bank of China, with international bank and China as the world's second largest economy with the biggest population. As we have mentioned, the stocks and the bonds, we are the world's second largest. Our financial market has been developing very fastly as well. And with the connectivities between these two countries, now we see it has been unveiled. And for Bank of China, we believe in the future there will be more opportunities. For example, with the GDR and bonds cooperations, it's going to be more enriched in direct investment so that high quality development is going to be further improved. For Bank of China, as a very important bank offers technical support and service, now we cover 64 countries and regions. Now we also cover 44 Belt and Road Initiative countries and all ASEAN countries. Cross-border business is not just the strong suits of Bank of China, it's also within the DNAs of Bank of China. We paid close attention to China-Singapore market development, and based on Singapore subsidiaries, which has 87 years of business history. In the Chinese banks, we have been the first to launch the local custodian service. We believe in the future we are going to further enlarge such services so as to connect between these two markets and to channel the upper and lower streams as an important bridge and further facilitate domestic investors to be channeled into the overseas market and steadily promote RMB's globalization and to integrate the supply chains and to contribute to the dual circulations of the economy. Thank you, Mr. Gu. Thank you, dear guests. I believe for the different exchanges is going to help the Chinese financial organizations to go global. And we believe such connectivities will further boost the opportunities for the investors. We are a bit overrun, but that's okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your wonderful sharing. Please go back to your seats.
那我们在聊了关于中国和新加坡之间的金融互联。
Well, after talking about the connectivity between China and Singapore on asset management, now let's turn to green finance collaboration. We know Singapore is a green country. Singapore is the green finance center, and Singapore ranks the first in Asia in green finance. So next we'll have 5 panelists offline, 1 online. Now let's invite Liu Ling, Deputy General Manager of Bank of China, Senior Vice President of DBS Xu Yi, Wu Zezhi from Orient Securities, Wang Yuxuan, Chief Investment Officer, Investment Manager of Fulton Fund, Xie Bingqing, Deputy General Manager of the Second Department of Shanghai Clearing House.
We
also have one panelist online, that is the Climate Impact XCIX, Wu Jiajia Joyce. Are you ready? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So now let's get started. Well, this afternoon,
as possible. Okay. 我们首先还是问这个。
First of all, I want to turn to Liu from Bank of China, Investment Banking Department. Please introduce to us in terms of green bond what you have done, what is the plan, and how do you see it? Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me to briefly introduce to you the green finance from Bank of China. Till the end of last year, we have very good bond market development. In 2020, green bond was 870 billion. We were in 260 billion of them. Till the end of September, we participate in 280 billion. The BOC has actively ranked first in green bond. In the Bloomberg green bond ranking, we are the leader in Chinese underwriter in green bond. We want to advocate the concept of green development, so to consult, set up the framework of green bond, also bring to full play the advantage of us. We have attracted over 200 players investing in Chinese green bond and play a bridge in inviting foreign companies coming in, and we will continue to work deeply in the green bond, share the concept of green development with players, including over 2,600 investment institutions, so to promote green exchanges, green collaboration. So we want to build a better platform and serve the participants. Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Next, let's turn to Kelly from DBS. DBS is the biggest bank in Singapore, also the biggest underwriter of green finance. Would you please share more in green finance? Yeah, actually, the Singapore government supports green finance a lot, and there are a lot of policies to support companies to carry out green finance to achieve low carbon transformation in terms of ESG. There are also many international standards we want to align with, including the carbon trading, carbon transactions. We want to reach the international standard. And actually, we are the same as Singapore government in green finance standards. We also learn from the international green finance standards. We commit in 2025 we will reach the zero emission in financing. So that's why we set up the carbon reduction plan for our partners so to achieve zero emission. To promote this green finance, we want to achieve net zero, not just in our business, but also in service and products provided. Now, in terms of finance transition, we have turned a lot to our products. Where we provide services and products, we also pay attention to the green finance, including whether they have the long-term goals. DBS actively provides the sustainable development products to help customers. Yeah, now let's turn to Wu. We know this year is the 20th anniversary of the fixed income of Orient Securities. What can you share with us in green finance? Yeah, this time we were invited because at the 20th anniversary, we got the license to participate in green, the carbon trading as a newcomer. The climate change is the common challenge, so green and low carbon development is the consensus. The 20th NPC report also says we need to promote green transformation, and it said we need to further support the finance, economy, investment, pricing system, and the overall framework. All of these also open a new pathway out. It also guides the direction and also gives the direction for us. For us, Orient Securities, we always attach great importance to ESG, and we participate in many activities. We maintain A rating for ESG. And this time, after we get the license with the support of the Supervision Bureau, we have the carbon trading and spot market quota. We believe that we shoulder the responsibility in climate change transformation as well. This is a huge market. And the data shows that in first half this year, green finance in China is almost 30 trillion. This also plays a very important role in supporting the green development. Well, I think we can pay attention to several areas in the future. One is the green finance standards. We have many years of exploration. We have seen different standards. And there are new requirements for exposure. So our standards can be more complete and we can be on the same page for investors and investees. And the other is the innovation of green finance tools. Since 2010, many countries participate in the carbon commitment, like also Singapore in 2021. It issued the Green Development Blueprint. The green finance activities have developed very fast. In first half this year, the green bond issued overseas is about 20 billion, attracting investors coming to us. As the CCER emerged, I believe carbon market will develop rapidly. It will further promote the innovation of green finance tools. And the third is the green finance supervision to guide the development of green finance, and we need many supporting policies, including the evaluation standards, preferential policies, etc. On October the 1st, the EU started the pilot program of carbon industries. The carbon-intensive industries are faced with bigger cost of transactions. And we are also exploring, with our commitment, transactions, diversified services, we can support the carbon development. Yeah, very detailed. But you use up all the time. So now let's turn to Wang Yuxuan. Orient Securities is the seller, while you are the buyer. The Fulton Fund. The Fulton Fund is under the Temasek you develop in China. So I'm wondering, how do you see the Chinese green finance? Thank you. ESG or green finance, that is, well, a very important part of us. And we also hope that through our investment, we can continue to guide our invested companies to pay more attention to their corporate responsibility. As from our perspective, we hope companies we invest, they can have the plans for carbon reduction, and we will follow these. And every year, apart from the finance analysis, we also would have more ESG communication with them. And we also have many data sets, so to pay attention to their ESG performance. Well, we believe that for Chinese companies, in these years, actually, they actively enhance ESG exposure, including the efforts in carbon reduction. Many domestic companies transformed from charity programs to more carbon reduction plans, including what they have done. The practice shows that these companies do bring very good alpha. So for us, Fulton, we will continue to implement our ESG to work with these companies to do well in the future. Yeah, I think you found that for listed companies in China before, they found the ESG was more like corporate social responsibilities before, but now it's not just the responsibility, but also because of their own development. Now let's turn to our online panelist. Our question is, what are the features of carbon trading in Singapore to promote green finance? What Singapore has done in institutional development? Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, we can hear you. Please allow me to introduce to us. CIX has Temasek, SGX, and DBS to set up our carbon trading institution. We hope through our platform we can further promote the response to climate change to achieve the carbon reduction. We are also promoting the Singapore as the carbon trading center in Asia. To fulfill this goal, we have actually 3 platforms for customer demands. The first is like an e-commerce platform. So the users can browse and buy. And the second is like an auction or bidding. So the buyers can bid online. To participate in these programs, such a process is helpful as well. It's like group purchasing. So the buyers can get bigger amount in a bidding. And at last, we have a spot market exchange. We provide standard agreements, also specific programs, which are for like financial industry. In terms of the government, Singapore government is active in green development. There are also many targeted programs to help enterprises in energy and carbon.
For example, only with the subsidies, we're going to facilitate with zero carbon emission of the manufacturing industry, and we could also improve the cost efficiency for many companies in carbon reduction and energy saving. Carbon capture and carbon storage, these technologies will be enhanced in this way as well. Government is also supporting on sustainable development. The goal is to set up the funds that is going to support, for example, talent training, product development, and certification, as well as financing capabilities. These are the key areas to boost such areas. Thank you, Joyce. Lastly, I'd like to ask Mr. Xie, either in terms of banks or buyers, sellers, and asset managers, and the Singapore exchanges. For Shanghai settlements, for green financing, we're also playing great important roles. And what have you done? And how do you prepare to work in the future? Thank you. For us, we are a financial infrastructure provider. Under the leadership of PBOC, we have been implementing on the green development philosophy. We have actively practiced the bond market in supporting the green development. For green financing operation in a safe and sound way, we offer service and guarantee. In this process, we have made many achievements, just as Mr. Wu mentioned. For example, with the standardized green bonds, we have been making some efforts in terms of green bond standardization. We are also a standing member of the Green Standardization Organization. We're also a member of the economists. That means we're actively participating in China's green bond evaluation and certification. At the same time, we have been facilitating in the cross-border green bond standardization and alignment so as to facilitate this market development. We have also been improving on the extensiveness and depth of this green bond market. In 2015, we have worked with Luxembourg Exchange on the cross-border information disclosure cooperation. For both sides, we have been providing the green bond issuers with the simultaneous information disclosure service so that the cross-border investors will be able to get into the bond market and engage in the Chinese green bond market. And starting with that, we have built a green bond index, including the first carbon neutrality bond index, to support the commercial banks in the carbon neutrality-related structural deposit product. We've also built this development materials for the green bond development. And certainly, we are also going to build a favorable market and the environment to facilitate with the tax and fee cuts with the guidance of PBOC. For us, we have been supporting from 2020. For these 3 stages, we have been reducing on the fees and tax so that we are going to save our issuers with 3 billion of savings. That has greatly facilitated with the boundary issuers. And just now, we've also mentioned a rich green bond supply. At this time, we have been supporting with the carbon emission reductions. And in recent years, we have been supporting with the first batch of carbon neutrality corporate bond tools, and also the first carbon neutrality bond green financing and sustainable development related innovative products registrations. At the same time, we have been developing on the green-themed bonds. For example, low carbon transportation and the Yangtze River Basin ecological protection. These themed bonds have been issued to channel these funds to accurately and precisely support on the low carbon areas. So it's going to facilitate and contribute to the financing sector's support to the actual economy. There are too many achievements to be shared. And next, let's talk about the achievements on green financing. Now let's have a look at the cooperation between China and Singapore on green financing. Mr. Liu from PBOC, as you have built a bond right off the center. So I would like to talk about this. Starting from 2011, Bank of China have been working on the underwriting systems around the world. With over 10 years of achievements, now we have Hong Kong, Singapore, London, and Luxembourg network covering the whole world. And now the Singapore underwriting network is supporting the Asia-Pacific customers so that they are going to launch their bonds in Singapore and to attract the Singaporean investors to invest in China, and also to attract the investors to invest in China. And with over 10 years of experience, our underwriting center in Singapore have been communicated with the local exchanges in Singapore with very extensive connections. And the local issuers of Singapore and also Asia-Pacific investors have been well connected in this network. In the future, we expect the underwriting center in Singapore is going to become the bridge in green financing so as to better facilitate on green financing operation so that the standards between the two countries is going to be integrated. As for our customers, we are going to be connected and to issue their products around the world. Very well said. We are going to achieve the standardization alignment in these two countries. That's very important. Now let's hear from Kelly. For DBS, in green bond issuance, you have been the most, and you have been in charge of the Chinese business. How do you look at the green bond issuance and its prospect in China? Well, for China, carbon reduction and bond issuance for China or for the international community, that's a very important trend. As for China, as a major country for carbon emission, in order to achieve these dual carbon goals, we need to invest hugely in these technologies for carbon emission. So in these carbon emission technologies and its financing demands for bond issuance and the carbon trading, the promise is great. So to better leverage the channels between domestic and abroad, for example, these China-Singapore channels is going to help the companies to gain a better resource allocation. At the same time, it's going to help with the upper and lower streams of companies in this transformation. If we better mobilize the carbon trading markets, we could also help the companies with the carbon asset management. Therefore, we're going to have maximized environmental and financial outputs. Mr. Wu, you have well covered all these aspects. So how do you look at the Singapore market's cooperation? Well, as you mentioned, the Singapore markets in this green energy index, Singapore is a number 11th in the world. So we believe for the Singapore market, it has many things to be learned for us. For our Oriental Securities, we have set up our brand subsidiaries in Singapore and started our operation in Singapore. We pay close attention to the Singapore market, and with the in-depth cooperation in Singapore, it's going to improve our service capability and international competitiveness. With the carbon license being approved, and after that we have had a very in-depth research about the Singapore markets, we expect that we are going to join this market as soon as possible. And for the future connectivities is based on the carbon markets and also the green bond markets. We expect with such channels, we're going to evolve in the Singapore markets and to find more opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Wu. Now let's hear from Mr. Wang. As you have mentioned, you have talked about the opportunities in China as more companies paid attention to ESG disclosures. And as for your prospect of the future, for the Chinese market to do better in green financing, what will be your suggestion as a buyer? I would like to share with you on our recommendations and our expectations. From the current point of view, on ESG or green investment, we pay attention to 2 points. First, those who are in green economy itself, for example, with the PV sector or with the new energy, which is inherently advantages in the green developments. We also expect more investors will pay attention to the Chinese companies, especially these traditional companies. They are constantly improving on their carbon reduction efforts. These are real marginal improvements and also phase cost reductions. These are quite critical to the investors as well. These traditional companies, it's not that they do not have inherent green financing capability, that they are not going to enjoy the advantages from green financing. So we're going to look into these opportunities for Oriental securities. And for us, we have global ESG and also Asia ESG products. We expect in the future we're going to launch Chinese ESG products in overseas so as to found the domestic ESGs in these investment opportunities. From our point of view, we are quite sure, as Kelly just mentioned, since China has made a commitment in the carbon goals, we believe such investments opportunities will be quite abundant in the future. And for us, we would like to work with our counterparts and to find more better companies and bring them to the global investors. Thank you, Mr. Wang. So Photon believes that we're going to have more opportunities. Now we hear from Joyce. Our topic is about the China-Singapore financial cooperation. So from your point of view, between China and Singapore's green financing, what will be the products that could be innovated? Is there any opportunities to attract the Chinese investors? Well, CIX is one of the goals, which is to build a fundamental price for carbon trading, because a good fundamental trading is going to facilitate the financing for the carbon projects. And as for the investors, they need some tools for management. And financial organizations could also use this price to leverage their derivatives, which is going to create more opportunities for investment and to bring up liquidities for the carbon markets. One thing different is that for SGX, it's also going to build the carbon price and launch the carbon futures so that the investors will be able to have a hedging mechanism. I'd like to share with you on our next step of deployment a plan in design on the forestation standards. Today, we see many global certifications, and these are geographically located in China. So for the product developers, they are going to be benefited. And next, we are also making biddings for relevant projects, which is a carbon goods bidding. For those who want to invest in the Chinese carbon reduction programs, it's going to be a project of high interest or concern. So next, I would like to share with you the China and the Singapore environmental aspects. We have had a very close cooperations in the long term. This September, both ministers have met in Beijing, as we have been talking about the cyclic mobilizations and the recycling efforts, and such collaborations and discussions have been made. So for climate change and Green Belt and Road Initiative, as well as the policies and dialogues have been carried out extensively. So under the backdrop of the green development, low carbon development, we believe there will be more financing opportunities. And of course, in the future, in Singapore, the carbon exchange and the China exchange for carbon might be connected as well. Thank you, Joyce. We could see, either in terms of design for the green products or the cooperation between China and Singapore, CX has been doing multiple projects on this. So now I would like to hear from Mr. Xie. As we know, green financing is an emerging endeavor, and its goal is to support China as well as the global low carbon or decarbonization efforts. I have two questions. First, in innovation. For Shanghai settlement, what have you done to achieve this goal? And for your collaboration with Singapore counterparts, what will be the possible directions?
Well, thank you. The first part is we can start with carbon market and carbon finance. What we innovate. In carbon innovation, we bring to full play our advantages and experiences to promote the innovation of carbon market. Like together with the Environment Agency, we have the settlement business. Like Lu said, they participate in the business. This is the only one which use the centralized settlement, which is also in line with the international financial institutions, a financial derivative product. In 2021, we also issued the carbon transaction quota pricing system. Through professional valuation and services, we provide market participants with carbon trading, provide market reference. Also, we are promoting the national and local work so that we work with the National Carbon Registration Office to promote the continuous development. And at the same time, we are promoting the sport and the futures product preparation. In Shanghai, Beijing, Guangdong, we are also promoting a diversified carbon service innovation, lead and guide brokers to participate in the carbon market, so to help entities in carbon reduction. Yeah, so to better serve and achieve green transformation for our next step. We will also replicate and scale up to the whole country, so it will have more carbon types. It will also help the digital currency settlement and other businesses. So to meet the demands of carbon settlement, pricing, financing, as well as diversified businesses, including the comprehensive service. The moderator also mentioned with Singapore market, our collaboration with Singapore. Like I said, our products already cover all the green finance, like the pound bonds, green bonds, and others. We also have the Magnolia bond for the international market. Singapore is very important green finance market. It has the international investor community, so I believe that we have huge room for further collaboration. And like I said, with different stock exchange, we already have the cross-border information disclosure system, which I believe, yeah, it will be a new template, yeah, a reference. Yeah, so no news to release today. The other is our Magnolia bond. We are also exploring ESG, green finance, innovation, which can also help China and Singapore for cross-border collaboration, providing new opportunities. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, we do run over time. And the last question to everyone here. Looking to the future, if China and Singapore in green finance, if we want to do better, work more, what is the expectation for the supervision? 1 to 2 sentences. Yeah, with Leo. The first is the policy connectivity. our product connectivity as well. And the other for green finance, the information disclosure, including the policies and third-party management. That is the challenge as well. So I hope we can have more cooperation. Thank you. Very good, Karin. Thank you. Well, I think in policies, maybe we can flexibly support fundamental policies and support more product innovation. Next is China-Singapore collaboration. Maybe we can reach more connected standards. Standards. So we can promote the finance market. Standards. Standards, most importantly. And a big pain point. One is for the institutions, we need to further optimize the system to guide the green finance investment and financing. And for securities, as we have more and more carbon transactions, I hope based on basic business, we can also have like derivatives, asset management, and other businesses, so to further expand our scope. Thank you. Yuxuan? This is not just our policy, but also other listed companies. We hope the supervisory can work with the international ESG rating agencies. Not just between China and Singapore, but also with other countries. The thing is, many companies are doing well in ESG, but they don't know how to disclose. So I hope there can be more guidance, including the standards, to connect with the international rating agencies. I think that will be very beneficial. At last, Xie, please. Also, Joyce. Joyce, just 1 to 2 sentences. What are your suggestions? Only about carbon transaction. We can see the U.S. In June, U.S. issued there is the green finance misconduct malpractice. So I also hope China and Singapore supervisory bureaus can issue laws to standardize the carbon market, so to give more confidence to the market and investors. At last, Xie, please. Thank you. Well, as the finance infrastructure, I have one suggestion. Many suggestions to you, actually. We will try to work more in the future. We hope we can further promote green bonds and its application in the carbon market. That will also be our focus. So we will look into the green bonds to work as the guarantee for the carbon market, and there will be a third party to manage the guarantee, so to revitalize the green bond, which can further promote the liquidity and attraction. And we will also actively work with Singapore infrastructure companies for cross-border connectivity, so that we can work together to promote high-quality development. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for very efficient sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Please take your seats. We have 3 forums. The first, asset management. The second, green finance. And the third, also the last, is connectivity. And we also have 5 panelists. Now let's invite the Director of International Cooperation Department of Shanghai Futures Exchange, Zhu Jianghong, Lei Xinhua from Mercurial Energy Trading, Tang Lei from Topics Futures, Sun Hongzhi from BNP Paribas, Ai Hao, Bank of China Singapore Branch Assistant Governor. We have one panelist online as well. That is the Lan Guocong. Please say hi to us. Chief Executive and Global Head of Foreign Exchange in the race of SGX. Well, we are a little bit overrun, but now we are trying our utmost and to be okay in time. It starts with Zhu from Shanghai Futures Exchange. We know the futures derivative law took effect in August 2021 as Shanghai Futures Exchange is leading in many aspects. Would you please talk more about internationalization, especially in more products and expanding the participation? Thank you. Taking the opportunity, I also want to thank Yicai, BOC, for inviting us here. Thank you very much. I'm glad to have the opportunity to share with you in these years what we have done in internationalization. Just like our moderator said, we have developed very fast in internationalization. Like you said, according to the survey, our domestic futures market has been the largest for many years. Our overall commodities futures, 71% in 2021. It is increasing all the time. In terms of the categories, we are also leading. For example, according to the Futures Association, for metal of non-ferrous and ferrous in 11 categories are from us, so very well developed. It is because of our common efforts, including many panelists here. It is because of our common efforts. Also, I want to share with you our market scale. In first 3 quarters, Shanghai Futures Exchange, together with our platforms like the energy market, we reach 1.5 billion, 138 trillion transaction volume, huge actually. So maybe we are asking how much is from the overseas investor. And actually it is growing very rapidly, 30% growth. Over 20% is from the overseas. So there are 3 ways for them through the international products, through the COFI we issued last year, or the WUFI. Yeah, all 3 ways are possible. We asked about QFI, so a little bit introduction. Last year we have 16 categories joining QFI. Now we have transactions for non-ferrous quite leading. Yeah, so it seems domestic market is interested, and also international players are interested. We have financial institutions, also industrial players. Also, we are expanding settlement banks. We have the Citi and the DBS joining the settlement banks because we want to provide more choices to the market. Yes, we are expanding the internationalization. Well, Zhu, you are responsible for international collaboration, so you are very familiar. You also mentioned Li a couple of times. We also need to see how do these international players think. How do you think Li from Mercury Energy Trading? Well, among many bulk commodities, China is #1 in import. Zhu also said so. So for these bulk commodities pricing, China plays a very important role. Because of huge consumption, right? Yes. For example, crude oil, 500 million ton. Iron ore, 70% is in China. Yeah, so we play a decisive role in price fluctuation of bulk commodities. We launch crude oil products. So in line with demand and supply in China, we can give the price for energy here. Like when the oil price dropped in 2020, our agreements greatly increased the inventory, so the low price oil came to China.
With such mechanism, many of the resources will be brought to China, and with it to standardized markets and its interactions, our real economy is going to be benefited. We have also had such transactions for a volume of over 1 million, and this is a vivid case that with our commodity products is also going to contribute to the real economy. My question is, for Shanghai Exchange, how about your opening up in 1 or 2 sentences? International interaction, we have done a very good job, and we have great expectations that next year it's possible that we are going to have some standardized contracts over the LGS. So I believe you also have such plans. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Lan from SGX. Just now, Mr. Li from Mercuria have said that we have a great volume in transactions, but these transactions might not be transferred into pricing capabilities. Then how do you look at the RMB products and its attractiveness over the world, and how RMB is going to affect commodity transactions and its future development? Thank you. First of all, I need to say it's my great pleasure to be here to participate in this RMB financial products session. With your question is about Chinese RMB pricing functions, especially when it comes to commodities. Has it been increased? Well, I think this is a matter of time, as currently most of the demands in commodity comes from China. So for the customers, the pricing power has been defined by the US dollars. This will be certainly seen as odd and unrealistic. So I believe it will take some time. But I think it is fair to say, many people, their understanding of the RMB as a currency for arbitrage or similar efforts, people are of great interest for such activities, as they do have the demand. For example, these are the import-export trading companies, and they would include many of the manufacturers. So for contracts or international contracts, especially commodity contracts, to launch the RMB-based pricings is going to be somewhat of a problem, but it's not going to. It's going to happen in the near future. I believe. I hope that you're right. So let's ask Mr. Tang from Topics Futures. And for the foreign companies, it's a good news. But for you, what will be its connotations to you, and what will be your choices in overseas? Well, as you know, for the futures market, this is truly the international market. It is free for the overseas investors to see. And what will be the areas that have been shown? First, we are in bringing in, for example, these 24 futures categories which are open to the foreign capital, and 46 categories is open to QFII. These are the futures and option products that are open to the overseas investors. Now we are seeing there are more and more supplies in the market. And in terms of the introduced products, now we see 2 WFIs have been established already, and which has guaranteed many of these foreign enterprises they can receive conveniences in setting up such organisms. And we see going global. Under globalization, many companies, especially the Chinese companies, they have been stronger and stronger, and they are facing international risks. In this aspect, for us, we need ever more urgently of the hedging tools in the risks in transactions, credits, and pricing. Based on these circumstances, for the domestic stock indexes, we have set up overseas subsidiaries and branches so as to provide risk services to them. And we have provided all kinds of risk hedging tools and capabilities. And in Singapore, we have set up a wholly owned subsidiary in Singapore. So now let's hear from Mr. Sun from BNP. As Mr. Tang just mentioned, since 2002, QFII could invest in China's futures options as well. So over a year, as a QFII, what have you seen as opportunities? And in the last years, what has been the performance of participants in this market? Well, for BNP, we are the largest banks in Europe with over 200,000 employees, and our global investors will be associated with them. In year of 2002, QFII has been able to work on the commodities and futures options. Many of the investors are greatly interested. As previously, they have had the channels to buy domestic stocks and for commodities. Just as Mr. Li mentioned, China has the most vast volume, and now China has over 70 different types of futures and 70 types of futures. Some of them hedge funds, some of them asset management, some of them commodity companies. For them, they don't have the opportunity to perform overseas, have liquidity or transaction. So in Singapore, especially in London, in these 2 cities and also some of the companies in New York, they are greatly interested to work with us on QFII and to engage in this market. Some of them go to our exchange for QFII derivatives, and some of them would leverage on some of the derivatives, and many of them would be expecting more of the so for the RMB-based financial derivatives, they are okay with that, right? Yes, they are okay with such mechanisms. They are probably interested in RMB, and more importantly, they have interest in the commodity itself. Now let's invite Mr. Ai Hao from Bank of China. As you have had a commodity business center, why would you establish this center in Singapore? As geographically, Singapore is very important to China. It is a stronghold facing the South China Sea, and also the center for global financial center and commodity center. In 2022, last year, commodity transaction has been over $1 trillion, a double-digit growth for another year. Many of them goes to the Chinese market and Singapore. There's also been a huge amount of commodity service providers and many of these companies. So for China, we are there in Singapore to better serve our customers and to serve the China-U.S. relations, China-Singapore relations, and opening up to the outside world. So now let's talk about the specifics between China and Singapore in RMB financial products cooperation, especially in futures and derivatives market. What should we do under the context of high-quality development? So let's start with Mr. Zhu from Shanghai Exchange. So you are in charge of the open networks. On the categorical standard and the alignment of these standards, how should we reduce the costs and fees of the customers? How should we communicate and collaborate with the Singapore counterparts? Thank you for this question. I think these are very high-quality questions regarding the international routines and how should we be aligned. From my personal point of view, from the futures and derivatives markets point of view, I consider there has been no universal rules or standards in place. For example, with the Chinese rules have been emerged based on its historic conditions and market and its actual practice. As for international ones, it is also applied to its relevant scopes. So for us in the recent few years, when we have been aligned with international standards, we have done many efforts. For example, based on the international settlement banks systems and the IOSCO's rules on financial infrastructures, PFMI, we have set up relevant evaluations quarterly. On our official website, we have information disclosure. This is in line with international routines for us to become a QCCP being approved by the CSRC. And since it is a Singapore Cooperation Forum, we are also a Singapore approved IMO. That means we have made tons of efforts. At the same time, internationally, they are increasingly approved of domestic rules. For example, last year, we have seen derivative sector are very familiar with the rules being accepted by the international community. For example, international community have set up many of the rules that is adapted to the Chinese market. So I believe for such alignment with international rules, this is something closely related with the domestic and overseas rules. It's a two-way communication. And from a cost perspective, we need to look for a risk control and a cost connections junction point. Because internationally, credit tradings have been seen as a afterwards risk control methods, and for domestic market, it's more about pre-control, which is going to be higher in cost. Therefore, we have been lowering the cost from multiple perspectives. As previously, we have been working on the unilateral guarantee deposit system and also differentiated deposit of guarantee system. And now we also have a combination of the margins business. So these are the efforts we are trying to achieve as a balance point between cost control and risk management. So we need to find the balance point between opening up and alignment of the rules. And just now, BNP's Mr. Sun have told us to choose in what QFII's appetite for the commodities. They have appetite for the commodities, but not so much for RMB. Now I would like to hear from you regarding your understanding of the RMB's positions in the global commodities. And in order to improve the appetite of the investors for RMB, what will be your suggestions? Thank you. Just now, Mr. Zhu had been talking about the principles. I'm going to talk about specifics. Why would they be interested in our commodities but not so much for the RMB? That's about the entry threshold. And in the threshold of entry, especially for domestic trade, for the foreign companies, the business environment is not so friendly. As known by Mr. Ai and Mr. Sun, they work mostly on the letter of credits, and for the true letter of credit business is quite limited in the domestic trade. So in such context, if we are going to facilitate on the letter of credits, domestic transactions being approved and used in domestic business, is going to greatly facilitate the overseas investment. Therefore, we are going to see exponential growth in people's interest for the RMB. In this case, it is going to be much more potential in this area as it can do more. And for many of our products, many of them are still based on quota in this management, although we have made some commitments in WTO, but many of the commodities can be done by some companies but not the other. If we could further improve our reform and opening up, allowing more players to join this market in commodity, is also going to help with the RMB's globalization. And certainly, with us launching all kinds of good products, we are trying to make them into the basis for pricing, which is truly going to detect the pricing and to avoid risks. In this item, my suggestion is that for the SOEs, especially in energy and commodity imports, they should be striving very hard for the Shanghai Futures Exchange-based real commodities. And lastly, in China, we have over 300 million tons of commodity oils. If we could launch some products in Shanghai Futures Exchange, there would be some exponential growth as well.
Yeah, someone is interested in RMB denominated products. Now let's invite Lan from Singapore. I know Singapore is going to promote the gold futures denominated in RMB. Why are you going to launch this product? In promoting the RMB internationalization, what are the advantages of SGX? Well, first of all, I want to share with you how the SGX is like in Singapore. Singapore is in the interconnection between South and North Asia, so Singapore is very suitable for commodities transaction, including the agriculture products, iron ore, etc. There are many transactions like these. And other is Singapore is the third largest foreign exchange center. So many transactions can be risk controllable with the help of SGX. And Singapore also develops strategy in this way. Our main strategy is to provide many services that China needs. So we are trying utmost to develop here about the China-related products, including iron ore, RMB-denominated bonds, etc. These are all promoted by us and launched by us, and we hope that although the economy is not that good, but we are making efforts in this aspect. You mentioned the gold bond. Yeah, why does Singapore launch RMB-denominated gold bond? RMB-denominated, because we think there are demands like these. And there are actually many gold transactions. Most of these are against the USD. Gold is a very common product. Many people are interested in gold. So maybe not just only in USD denominated, RMB denominated would be quite attractive. Yeah. Thank you for your sharing. I think this product will be a very good news for the international investors. And now I want to turn back to Tang. Would you please share more, like you get the overseas license, what are your experiences? Okay, thank you. Because for Topics Futures, we were launched in Singapore as a subsidiary in 2018. And we already have many institutional customers, including domestic and overseas. Also, we have very wide exploration into it. So that's why we set up the subsidiary. And we, first of all, are deeply rooted in Singapore. We got the license from Singapore, or the futures license. And now we are applying for securities and asset management license. We want to be settled in Singapore to provide one-stop services. And the second is Singapore company. As a Singapore subsidiary, we are also applying to Europe and America and London license. We want to become a institution with full licenses. So we want to better serve the market, both international and domestic markets, so we can introduce in more customers. And we also hope that we can share the Chinese products with internationals. Have you ever tried to promote domestic business model to overseas? Yet, actually, we cannot just easily scale up because for international transactions, they are very different from domestic ones. So we cannot just easily scale up. So we set up such a subsidiary in Singapore because we want to make use of the local talents. We hope more people can be familiar with international rules and systems, so to help provide better services. Yeah, thank you. Now let's turn to Swan. This is a question about connection between China and Singapore. I'm wondering for derivative market, for high-quality connectivity, what are the suggestions from BNP Paribas? How will you participate? There are already very good development. Like last year, the futures and the derivative laws were passed, which help foreign financial institutions like us, so that our derivative can be settled overseas. This will help reduce the risk for us, and our volume can be bigger. We can do better, and we can also help customers to work more. And the next is, well, in these years, although we have the Hong Kong Connect, but there are also Singapore customers participate in this. Yeah, so for many Singapore customers in other markets, they may have the bonds, futures. They also want to participate in this market. Yeah. For the financing market, the credit default market, if it can be better connected with the international standards, I think they are more willing to participate. Yeah, so not just bulk commodities, but also the credit, interest rate, the national bonds, etc. Very big market. Yeah, I hope there can be better development with more investors. Next, let's turn to I from the BOC. My understanding is for BNP Paribas or any others, I think you, BOC, provide support at back. So how to provide better services and how to see the internationalization of RMB? Actually, in these years, the RMB does improve its position, and there are several trends. The first is the offshore RMB. It will develop to more regional. Some regions will develop faster. Let's take ASEAN as an example. In RCEP, as China and ASEAN have more investment and trade relations, the internationalization will be in more demand. And with the US Fed increase, it's easier for them, for the RMB to go out. So very promising. We will pay attention first to these areas. And the next is the RMB financing. with higher and higher positions. Now the interest rate between China and the US are higher and higher. Now it's very likely to have 200 or even 300 BP interest rate differences. So now there are customers turning to financing RMB to reduce the cost. And also you've mentioned diversified products, especially to provide more derivatives to increase the value. So financial services and bulk commodities can be connected to provide a incremental market. At last, let's look into the future. Let's start with Zhu. Between China and Singapore, with more and more connection between China and Singapore, Singapore is also the important financial market with a lot of transactions with China. So in the future, how can we work together to provide more convenient services? Very good question, actually. Well, to provide better services. And we need to start with the basic function of futures, the pricing. Lee from Mercury already put it well. Now we are similar with international trend, but also with differences. So we hope in the future we can provide international businesses with better pricing system. I don't go to details. And next is to provide more risk management tools to form the competitiveness for futures market. I think it will better maintain the market, attract the capital flow, which will form the fair and just pricing system. And it will also verify with each other's pricing system, like the nickel of the long term. When it closes, if we are open, then we may become the attraction to open up the market. So yeah, we want to maintain our market, more transparent market, more investors, more capital flow. So we will provide better risk management to meet their demands. And the other is the pricing and risk management as the basic function. And because we have the delivery function, so with that, I think we can have a better logistics or distribution center so that we can better connect the downstream and upstream, expand the market and form the competitiveness. Yeah, maybe Lee can put it better. But you serve Lee and the company, yes. Let's ask Lan first from SGX. You started first the quite simple default swap and forward with fewer risks. So to develop RMB denominated derivatives, are these also some food for thought? Of course. We believe that RMB is really important as a currency. I think RMB is like the biggest or the second biggest one. Especially in Asia Pacific, there are a lot of offshore RMB transactions. Very important for them. Yeah, so we are also like one of the first to accept the offshore RMB. And if you pay attention to the transaction volume, then in 2022, our transaction volume is already 64 trillion USD per day. In 2023, it's 97 trillion, 149 trillion every day transaction volume. So for many participants, they are very interested in RMB transaction, especially in stock exchange. Because the price is transparent, it's easy and convenient, also big liquidity. Over 40% is non-Asia Pacific real-time transaction. This means there are many new customers which are not in Asia Pacific. And also in these few months, there are newcomers. Over 50% of them are not from Asia Pacific. So the internationalization of RMB, it is, I think, a must, a very good.
As for customers' willingness to use RMB, I believe many would accept RMB as the currency for exchange and pricing tools, including for the commodities. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lan. You have shared with us a very interesting phenomenon. Regarding the RMB derivative, 40% of these transactions happens outside of Asia Pacific. That means we do see the appetite in the market and interest in the market. And I'd like to ask similar questions to our guests on the stage. I would like to ask Mr. Ai from Bank of China as the last one. And now I would like to ask Mr. Li. For the globalization of the RMB, for more to be interested in the RMB, there are many things to be done. For example, with the financial commodities, with the offshore markets, infrastructures. With all of these things left to be done, which are the things that we can do first? I'd like to ask Mr. Li first. You're the host, you're going to speak last. And as we mentioned, for China-Singapore strategic cooperation has been improved to the next level. That means first we need to promote, as every year we do lots of Singapore promotions. We need to rely on our counterparts with the multilateral cooperations. We are going to promote to our international participants for the China's products. And if for SGX and for Shanghai Futures Exchange, if we could offer a joint products, for example, Plasmail. And Mr. Lan, you could launch some onshore, offshore apps for the oils. You could have standard contracts. So the customers will be saved at least with one deposit of guarantee. Great. That's very professional. Now I'd like to hear from Mr. Sun. I believe both parties will need some more time to collaborate. And as for domestic, we see many investors would consider if for the economic policies could be stabilized and if we could forecast on the future developments, which is going to boost people's confidence. But for our overseas participants, they will also need more time to prepare what they need. For example, with the operations and there are new channels needs to be further enhanced as they need some time to prepare all these channels. We also need to educate them regarding overseas investors. As they do not know very much about the Chinese RMB, we need further education. Next week, my team and I were going to go to the US and visit more than 30 investors. Thanks for your education. We'll hear from Mr. Tang. So internationalization of RMB is a trend. Then how should we achieve the globalization of RMB? We should have more offshore RMB products so that the products will be there to gain the scale and then to gain the consensus. That's what we do to recommend more people to use RMB and to realize the beauty of RMB in its values for offshore RMB products. We need to first have the products. Lastly, we go to the host. I have two ideas to share. First, we need to further complete the RMB cross-border payment infrastructure. As recently, we have launched the SIPS cross-border RMB payment system, and now many of these payments have been placed for application already, but still there are some room for completion. For example, more currencies should be viable, and there should be extensions for the payments so that most of the business will be transferred here to support our business. It's a very important infrastructure. And next, for offshore RMB, there's a pain point that fluctuations are huge, and the fluctuations with the interest rate has become a barrier. So I like to encourage the regulators to supplement on the extreme fluctuations of exchange rates, so people are willing to hold more RMB. Thank you, Mr. I. Mr. I have made a conclusion for the three panels. Lastly, I'd like to point out today our topic is to have a connectivity and a high-level opening up. I'd like to invite all the participants to jointly discuss about this topic. We have talked about asset management, green financing, and foreign exchange facilitations. I believe with all this dialogue, we're going to have better cooperations between China and Singapore. And thank you again. And now, this is the wrap-up for the day one of the Shanghai Asset Management Forum. And see you tomorrow. Bye.
谢谢尹凡先生和各位嘉宾给我们带来的精彩的观点分享啊！各位嘉宾呢，来自于整个资管行业当中的各个市场主体，给我们带来的分享呢也非常的多元，也让我们
sharing. Thank you for
Mr. In and all the audience from the various fields from the asset management industry. 相信各位和我一样啊，对于今天的分享呢是有非常充实的收获的，让我们再次对他们表示感谢。各位来宾，上海全球资产管理中心建设呢，也是给整个市场带来了非常广阔的机遇和挑战。同时呢，今天的讨论啊，也帮我们在如何构建上海全球资产管理中心建设更加国际化步伐，以及中心之间金融合作如何走深走实方面，带来了很多有益的思考和尝试。那在这里呢，今天我们2023上海全球资产管理论坛国际化专场对话新加坡暂时告一段落了，但是上海资管行业的飞速发展仍然将会继续啊。Dear audience, the construction of Shanghai Global Asset Management Center has both opportunities and challenges. Today's discussion is a useful attempt in exploring how to help build a new ecosystem for the asset management industry and how to promote innovation in financial cooperation between China and Singapore. Today's forum is coming to end. But however, the rapid development of asset management industry in Shanghai continues, and our exploring and thinking will not stop. 今天的论坛到此结束，感谢大家对于第一财经和中国银行的关注，感谢大家的参与，祝愿大家工作顺利，身体健康。Now is the end of the forum. Thank you for your very attention for our forum and Yicai and Bank of China. Thank you very much for being here and making it such a great success. Looking forward to see you again. Thank you.
你仍在闯关升级。面对人生的拐点，你主动求变。拥抱发展的趋势，你化危为机。你在浮华喧嚣中埋头坚守，你在重重压力下破冰出发。纵然世界瞬息万变，初心始终如一。因坚守而同行，因信任而相伴，因珍视而成就。如果你也和我们一样，相信未来可期，请点亮这个一。